team could be defined as a community of practice, where our members share a common interest such as the practice and delivery of student learning and working towards a collective goal. However, a more specific and relatively newer definition of our community is the term professional learning community, or PLC, described by Abbott and Hidden Curriculum 2014 as a group of educators that meets regularly, shares expertise and works collaboratively to improve teaching skills and the academic performance of students. This definition fits my team in that all members of the team work Monday to Thursday. We meet informally on a daily basis and meet formally at the end of each week to discuss the performance of students and raise any concerns. The lessons we teach are part of a specifically tailored program where all members of the team teach the same content at the same time, but to small groups of 5 to 6 children. So collaboration and sharing our experiences from the week is common practice for our team. Our community is distinct in that we all work in the same building. The physical space of the location is the school library. Each member has their own designated work area or teaching space where desks have been arranged to accommodate some groups throughout the open area of the library and then other groups in the adjoining 3 rooms. Being that the setting is a library as well as a teaching space, the setting has a mixed vibe dependent on what is occurring at the time. Signage is typical of a library with displays of books and posters encouraging children to read. Most of the furniture is new and some of the resources are new, so in terms of class it tends to feel middle to upper class with its newness and colourful decor, yet somewhat sterile look. I don't think this is seen as a negative difference because the new building was a long-awaited improvement for our community and is viewed as a positive difference given that most of the other buildings are extremely old. In terms of race, the setting doesn't express a sense of belonging in terms of race. The setting screams whiteness, with very few sprinklings of non-white features. There are some photographs, an Aboriginal painting, a small poster, and a bunting of flags from around the world. However, these aren't very noticeable unless you are really looking through a racial lens. Our community members feel a sense of belonging there because it is seen as ours. However, I don't think others would feel that same sense of belonging because there is nothing to suggest that they are welcome through images or visual enhancements that would promote inclusivity. Without visual displays of difference as diversity, this could create a negative stigma within the community. When looking around for gender influences, many features could be seen as stereotypical in our setting. There are some small areas that are set up especially, such as shop corner, vehicle and construction toys in tubs, and book displays which you could say are gender themed based on topics, authors or genre. Our team tend to use resources such as cards, Play-Doh, chalk, small whiteboards, letter building blocks and other activities that don't represent as gender specific. It is possible that the resources were chosen to be gender neutral when they were being put together. Gender of oneself can be more or less central to one's identity and is made more or less significant by the influence of social circumstances. Even if it wasn't intended, using resources that don't reflect gender bias creates less chance of students not wanting to participate due to social influences. Identity of members. In terms of race, all members identify as being white. However, there is one member who identifies as Aboriginal. As members, we know this because she has been employed in our community for many years and is an ambassador in Aboriginal affairs and events. The racial identity of our team member could not be assumed based on visible or phenotypical characteristics. However, physical differences are often associated with ascribing race and in turn more often than not, fosters negative difference. Whiteness is more common within my team, but in our setting, race as a difference is not deemed as negative or as a deficit. In terms of class, our group may be considered to be middle class, given that some members have university degrees, diplomas and or currently studying. All members are well presented, where cultural capital doesn't stand out as being drastically different. However, there are two members in particular whose tastes, clothing and mannerisms stand out as being more sophisticated or professional. They tend to regularly wear high heels, dresses or skirts, while most others dress in smart casual clothes consisting of long pants, shorts, sandals or sneakers. One lady who dresses casually and appears middle class often talks about her 4 children who all attend elite private high schools. She openly talks about the school fees and their excessiveness and cost. So her ascribed class by her social stratification differs vastly to her visible cultural capital. She is also strongly involved with the P&C of the schools her children attend, which somewhat adds to her social status and power within our group and the wider community. Whilst these differences aren't visible, there are clear differences in class which become more transparent through conversations. Gender. All members of my community are female and our ages range from 39 to 62 years of age. All members are parents, and whilst we are at different stages of parenting, motherhood is something we all recognise and relate to. Tradition seems to be largely at play in our group, where females are the dominant educators in primary school settings where they are seen as carers and nurturers. Whilst motherly or femininity identity is largely on display in our group, there are still distinct differences among the group. There are 4 women who often talk about baking, recipes and what they cooked last night for dinner. Then there are the rest of us who laugh or groan quietly to ourselves with a silent knowing that we or our partners will throw something together when we get home, and it probably won't come from a recipe. Traditional gender roles such as keeping house, cooking and cleaning, almost half of our members admit to not being involved in traditional gender roles outside of the group. Some members talk of how their husbands mostly cook dinner or help with aspects of housework, which demonstrates how gender roles have become more homogeneous. Whilst difference exists within our group, the negative difference that is most visible is the lack of male members. I don't think males would be made feel as welcome if they were to permanently form part of our team. Recently, a male relief teacher entered our group for one day, and whilst many of us found him to be pleasant and competent in his job role, certain members attempted to downplay his abilities. Women outnumber men in early years education, but they should be welcomed. Just as women have evolved and found new places for themselves in the world, so too have men. Gauntlet 2002. Overall, being a member of this community is a good feeling for me. There is that same good feeling amongst the other team members as well. And the shared emotional connections through the collective nature of our work and our desire to improve student performance provides a sense of belonging amongst members. Belonging is all about the bonds formed between members and the sense that allows an individual to feel welcome and validated. Hickey 2015. However, I believe that within our community we could further promote belonging and difference in terms of race and gender. Questions raised from this ethnographic inquiry are firstly, how can we demonstrate racial diversity and inclusivity in our community? And secondly, how can we attract male members to our group and make them feel welcome? How and why these issues should be raised and promoted within our community is covered in Section 2.